Welcome to Fantasy Football Today, Dynasty. I am your host, Heath Cummings, joined once again by our good friend, Adam Pfeifer. Adam, you've said this 17 times on this show, but there's probably someone new listening today. Tell everybody where they can find your work.
Yeah, first of all, I'm glad to be here. I felt that feeling like I was starting to get sick, and it just hasn't happened yet. So I'm sure it'll happen on Sunday when I'm in Buffalo during a freezing cold game. But happy to be here as always. Yeah, I'm over at FTN Fantasy doing a lot of advanced data, a lot of film analysis, a lot of charting for not only NFL but basketball as well. So yesterday, Monday, is my busy day where all of the film is up and available to watch, and I chart anything you can think of. A lot of run game stuff, but been really loving doing that, and obviously still, doing a lot of fantasy analysis and advanced data and whatnot as we approach, sadly, the end of the season. But Dynasty, I mean, there really is there's no end, so we get to do this full time, really.
And I think you are the perfect person to have on this show because as we get to the end of the year, we're going to have to make some decisions moving into 2026 about whether some of the things we saw in 2025 were just career years, were just some outlandish efficiency, or if it was real. So we're going to play, I guess, a game called Was It Real? And then a little bit later, was the fall off real? And just talk about some of the best and most disappointing performances from the 2026 season. But since you mentioned that you do NBA also, I'm adding a bonus question to the three questions for our guest. The Boston Celtics are 18-11 without Jason Tatum, currently the 3 seed in the East.
Much better than the Cavs.
Is it real?
To an extent, because it's kind of like the East and the AFC are like kind of jointed, right? It's like who's the threat in the AFC right now? Who's the threat in the Eastern Conference? It's like the Pistons, and I don't know, like Cleveland's been bad. Jaylen Brown's playing awesome. Peyton Pritchard's been awesome. They're getting really good contributions from like their role players. Jordan Walsh. This is a terrible. People are turning this off, by the way.
People are already upset with me for bringing up the Celtics.
I'll say it's part real, part. I don't think it ultimately matters because I just don't think anybody in the East is winning the finals. But it's been cool to watch for them for sure.
There were some bad motivations from me in asking that question. Just so you all know, many of you do, especially if you're watching live. You see his hat or visor, maybe.
No, it's a hat.
It's a hat. Okay, he's a hat. He's a Buffalo Bills fan. This is the first time, maybe in Adam and I's friendship. First time in Adam and I's friendship that the Chiefs have been eliminated and the Bills have not. I know he's a Cavs fan. I knew the Celtics were ahead of the Cavs in the standings. I had to bring up something that was going my way because football certainly has not over the last month. Here's 3 real questions for our guest. Some more pain. How are dynasty managers supposed to value Dalton Kincaid right now?
Yeah, admittedly, maybe it was just me being a Bills fan and just realizing like maybe it wasn't the greatest draft pick in the first round, but like I wasn't high on him coming into the season. The thing is, like, when he's been out there playing his full allotment of snaps, he's been pretty good. But he's been limited because he's dealing with this injury that he's probably going to deal with the rest of the season. So he's already in an offense that uses 3 tight ends, and Dawson Knox has been heavily involved in the red zone the past 4 weeks. I think you're just expecting, with Dalton Kincaid, he's a low-end tight end 1 because that's kind of where he falls anyway, and you're still holding out hope on a weekly basis and a yearly basis as long as he's with Josh Allen, because I will say is for as long as this team is running out and deploying this receiver room, which is, I don't know, are there 5 worst receiver rooms in the NFL? I mean, like the Jets, Cleveland, Raiders, Titans, is that it? Like, as long as they have this receiver room, the tight ends are going to be a focal point of the passing game. The problem is there's 3 of them, and Kincaid's like, we're looking at guys like Harold Fannin and Kyle Pitts and Trey McBride who just don't come off the field. Like, that's just not Dalton Kincaid, even when he's fully healthy.
I think that's been one of the biggest disappointments of this year because there was a stretch where I was looking really dumb for doubting him.
Same.
Because he scored a touchdown in 3 out of 5 weeks, had a 100-yard game.
The Chiefs game, he was like, I was like, all right, maybe this is like maybe this is what they wanted their Kelsey to be. Maybe they saw the Chiefs every year and like, okay, Kincaid had these long explosive plays against the Chiefs, and that game I was like, okay, I think I was wrong about Kincaid. And unfortunately, he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and they still love Knox and Jackson Hawes, so it's tough.
His rookie year, he played over 60% of the snaps in about half of his games and had a couple over 70 and 80%. His second year, he played over 60% of the snaps in about half the games and had a few games at 70 or 80%. This year, even when he was healthy, his season high in snap share is 55%.
Yeah.
He's just not a full-time player. He's going to always be very, very good. And I get frustrated at this sometimes with lots of players, but especially Kincaid, is people show his per route data and say, see, he's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. He never plays as many snaps as the best tight ends in the NFL, as you were just saying.
Yeah,
so
tight ends, anytime I get questions about tight ends that aren't like the Trey McBrides of the world, I just want tight ends that run routes and especially running routes on teams that like run play action, because those tend to be like easy, like, oh, first and goal from the 2, whatever, play action. Like, I just want routes. And Kincaid, as much of a focal point as he should be for this passing offense, he's clearly their best pass catcher. It's not even close. It's just a committee, and like you said, he's not even close to these guys in routes and snaps and stuff like that. So it's tough.
To answer my own question, I think there's a pretty clear top tier with Bowers and McBride. There's a pretty clear
Fannin, Bowers, McBride. You mean?
In tier 2, it's Fannin and Warren and Loveland. And I would say Laporta and Pitts and Kraft kind of creep into the end of that, because they're still really young, have lots of upside. Kincaid's somewhere after that tier. He's definitely not in that second tier. So that means he's not a top 8 tight end. He's probably around 12. I am updating all of my dynasty rankings. I'm changing them over to 2026. So January 1st, maybe January 2nd, probably January 1st, there will be on the site updated rankings for quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, and new trade charts over on Sportsline that are all updated for 2026. That process is a bear. So I would say if you're somebody who's used to checking my trade charts or checking my rankings, just stay away for the next week, because I'm moving things around and it's going to look really funky if you go look at it right now.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Let me turn it to you about, since you're on the subject of trades. One of my dynasty teams is a full-on just rebuilding. It's in like the second year of a rebuild. Michael Wilson has been on my bench for like since he was drafted. And during this ridiculous stretch, I think it was like 3 weeks ago, I'm not contending. I traded him for an early second. What do we think?
Yeah, I think that was a very good deal. He's right around wide receiver 40 for me, I think.
Cool.
So yeah, that makes sense.
Every time the guy scores, I feel a little sick. But my receivers are actually decent in that league. So
speaking of sell high, did we miss the sell high window on Emeka Egbuka? And we're talking dynasty.
Yeah.
Like obviously in redraft, the answer is yes.
The funny thing is I had him in a bunch of redraft leagues, and I was like, I kind of want to make sure, just in case like he completely goes back to being a rookie wide receiver that's tough to trust, I want to get rid of him on one team. And not get rid of him, but sell high. And the trade I made, I think it was like after week 4 or 5, I traded him for Justin Jefferson, and both lost that trade. This is really tough. Like this, when I saw the rundown, this was probably the hardest question that I saw. It's just been, we'll talk about it too when we get to Baker Mayfield. It's also been a product of just this passing offense has been broken since week 12.
Right.
Mayfield had the shoulder injury. I'll get to the numbers with Baker when we talk about him, but I don't think so. I think a lot of people that were like not high on Egbuka were like talking about some of the separation data and stuff like that. And I will say, like, during that first stretch where Evans and Godwin were out, he was great. It was also, I don't want to say fluky, but very advantageous with some random touchdowns, a couple long touchdowns that were like just barely missed interceptions. So I feel like, not to this extent, but there was going to be the floor kind of coming out from the bottom a little bit. I still think this is an immensely talented player who had the obvious draft capital, and we don't know how long Evans and Godwin will be there. They still have good depth at the wide receiver room, obviously. They've shown that, but I think there will be, if you want to, another time as early as next season where you can say, okay, now I can sell high if I want to. I think Egbuka will be fine.
I'm going to have a hard time this offseason with Egbuka and Travis Hunter, because I liked Hunter more.
Yeah, Hunter is more of a question mark for me with Jacoby Myers, and he just got the extension.
Right. So it's going to be very interesting. Question number 3: are you getting close yet to calling Lamar Jackson injury prone?
I struggle with injury prone because
Right.
there have been a couple players that I would definitely like over the years have considered injury prone. Like
Will
for
Fuller.
me it comes down to repetitive kind of soft tissue stuff. Like Alshon Jeffrey had hamstring issues for a long time. I kind of considered him borderline injury prone.
You would say Christian Watson's probably injury prone, right?
Yes and no. I mean, he had what, the ACL?
Wasn't he one of the guys that had like the making his hamstrings eat?
Yes, coming out, he did have that. So that's fair. You look at Lamar's injury history, this is, I believe, the first year of his career he's had hamstring issues. There was a concussion, and I think the playoffs against Buffalo like 4 years ago. This is, I think, the second or third time he's had a back issue. And like Sunday night was fluky. He went to slide, and a defender hit him in the back while he was sliding. Like while they're both kind of sliding to the ground. I think it's just been one of those weird, frustrating seasons for Lamar, or for any player. So I don't want to say he's injury prone. At the same time, it doesn't take away how frustrating it's been for him, the Ravens, and anybody that had him in fantasy. I'm not there yet with Lamar for injury prone.
We've basically had league winner Lamar and frustrating Lamar. And some of those frustrating years, he was still like 23, 24 fantasy points a game in CBS, but it came with leaving 2 games early and having a stretch of a month where he doesn't have any touchdowns for some reason. And then 2 years later, he averages 30 points per game and everybody forgets about it. The reason I think it's interesting with him is he is, I don't know if slight of build is the right way to say it, but he's not built like Josh Allen.
Yeah, it's why I always like. That's why I was so high on Derrick Henry when he went to the Ravens, because they don't use Lamar anywhere close to how the Bills use Josh and the Eagles use Jalen Hurts. Like, there's not a lot of design quarterback like power stuff inside the 5.
He's going to be 29 next year.
Mm-hmm.
So I think from a dynasty perspective, like Lamar is certainly not young anymore. And how you value him, especially if Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels at the start of next year just looks like he did his rookie year. Well, we've probably at least got 5 years of Jaden Daniels doing that. We might have a couple more years of Lamar Jackson doing that. Let's take our first break. When we come back, was it real?
You can't count on Derek's tong skills.
Oh, Tony, I think it hit the ground.
But you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount+.
We are back. We are talking about some of the most outlandish performances of 2025 and how real they were for the purposes of moving forward. And I think you have to start with Matthew Stafford, the likely MVP, who has just had, when I looked at it, I think he leads the NFL in passing yards, passing touchdowns, touchdown percentage, interception percentage, and passing yards per game. Like, he has just been awesome. And when I wrote about him this morning, the thing that I said was, looking forward to next year, we're going to get touchdown regression, almost certainly. 7.7% touchdown rate for Matthew Stafford.
He's a 2025 way better, but like when we're looking to the offseason, it's the same as Baker Mayfield that we looked at this offseason, where it was like, the touchdown rate is just coming down for sure.
At the same time, if you were going to post a 7.7% touchdown rate, it might be because your team just decided all we are going to do inside the 10-yard line is throw the ball to Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
So was this just a fluky thing? We've seen Sean McVay do this before, where he just finds something that he likes and just spams it all season, and then the next year it's something different. Or if they come back with Stafford, Puka, and Devontae Adams next year, can we view Stafford as just a surefire top 12 quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have to balance, was it real and was it a fluke? Like, it's not a fluke. This is one of the best quarterbacks in the league in a great situation. That's should and better win an MVP award. So in that aspect, obviously, it's not a fluke. Like, you put a quarterback this talented in this situation, he's going to produce numbers. It's just funny that, like, I would imagine you were probably in the same boat in the offseason. Like, oh, yeah, Stafford, you don't really need to draft him. He doesn't have a lot of upside. Right. He's not going to run, and he's, like, been the best quarterback on the planet.
Yep.
I think it's really awesome with the Devontae Adams stuff, because a lot of the time too, there's definitely plenty of times where it's a called fade route at the, it's a design play. There's a lot of times where they're at the goal line and Stafford checks out of a run and just gives Adams like a little signal and quick slant because they pull the defensive end in and it's just single coverage and you can't guard them. So that to me is like going to happen a lot of times if first and goal there's like a stack box and he just checks to a pass. I think obviously the touchdown rate's coming down next season. Like everything's going to come down to some extent. And they have gotten like it's gone under the radar because Stafford's going to win MVP and Adams has been great and Puka's been insane. The run game has been awesome. It's been both of the running backs too. So yeah, I mean, was it real? Yes. Is it sustainable next year? No. The question really comes down to, especially in Dynasty, like how long is he going to play? Like what if they win a Super Bowl this year? Does he say, okay, cool, I went out, Super Bowl champion, see you later? I don't know. But I will say, whatever chamber he was in the offseason, we need that for everybody because there was a concern all offseason, should I draft Puka? Should I draft Adams? And he's just been healthy all year and the best player in the NFL at the position. So good for Matthew Stafford.
Trevor Lawrence has been much, much better than Matthew Stafford over the last month, averaging 34 fantasy points per game in his last 4 games, the number 1 quarterback in fantasy. I guess this is almost an is it real as much as a was it real, but this is a guy who hung out in the top 12 of Dynasty quarterback rankings for a long, long time, much longer than anybody else with the type of production he had. Finally had fallen down to like QB 18, QB 20 range, maybe further for some people. When you look at it, though, if he's coming back next year with Jacoby Myers, Travis Hunter, and Brian Thomas Jr., and I said in that order on purpose.
Hopefully ETN too.
ETN as well. Liam Cohen, obviously. Is this real? Can Trevor Lawrence be this good for a whole season next year?
This good, no. But I'm bought in on Trevor Lawrence being a potential like top 10 quarterback in the NFL because he's obviously had all these different and bad situations since he was drafted. This version of the Jacksonville offense, Liam Cohen's obviously the best play caller they've had since Trevor Lawrence has been there. And it stinks because Travis Hunter was starting to get going before he got hurt. But Brian Thomas could not go over the middle of the field all year. He was dropping everything. What do? They bring in Jacoby Myers, who's one of the most reliable over-the-middle intermediate receivers in the NFL. Parker Washington's been really good. Brian Thomas has now he's kind of almost in that like Jameson Williams role from the beginning of the season, which is fine given the offense.
It's great for Trevor, bad for Thomas.
Yes, but it's also fine for them because it's a perfect balance with Jacoby Myers, which is why I'm bought in on Trevor Lawrence. Plus the rushing, like there's been a lot of these design runs they're calling inside the 10-yard line for him. And then the final thing is you just put on the games and he's making these off-platform really impressive throws that it's like, okay, if he was throwing a bunch of screens, they were taking 60 yards of the house off broken tackles, and it's cool. It helps for fantasy, but it's not really an indictment on Trevor Lawrence. The plays he's making are an indictment on Lawrence, the supporting cast, and the coaching staff. And I'm kind of bought in on Trevor Lawrence as a top 10 guy. I'm going to be really interested to see for redraft where he gets ranked next season. But also as Jacksonville is a team that could I don't know if I'd want to play them in the AFC. So, yeah, I think 30-plus points per game is not real, obviously, but Trevor Lawrence finally finding his footing and being the franchise quarterback that was promised, yeah, I think that's real.
When I did my preliminary run, that's the quarterback's the one position I've almost gotten through the first time, and he came out at like QB 11 for dynasty purposes, and I kind of wanted to throw open my mouth a little bit because
so he's probably behind like Caleb.
Behind Caleb. Let me just pull
obviously Drake
up.
May.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting to look at.
Purdy.
So I've got this group of 4: Justin Herbert, Jackson Dart, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy.
Yep, I think that's where he should be.
Right, and there's a lot of question marks in that group. Let's get to a guy that I was so right about 2 years ago, so wrong about this year, and you love him because he's a Bill. James Cook. You know, it's funny. My argument in the offseason was, yeah, the touchdowns were great last year, but the touches went down. He doesn't play enough. And I thought the touchdowns would regress. Instead, they just played him more, and he kept scoring. And is James Cook just a top 5 running back in the NFL? Is that real?
100%. And
no need to even talk about it.
Well, I've been on this podcast many times, and he's on a segment almost every time, probably on purpose, but I appreciate it. And I don't know if it was to start the season or in the offseason where we were talking about him, and I said I just think he's flat out like a top 5 running back, like pure running back in the league. And even I didn't expect him to be as good as he's been. I think he arguably has the best vision at the position. The offensive line's great. Even with these receivers, you can't really stack the box against him because of Josh. And his breakaway runs are awesome. He's also become since the start of last season a really like tough finishing type of runner at the goal line, and that's why he's been scoring touchdowns too. It hasn't just been 40+ yard runs. I mean, the concern coming into the season was the touchdown regression and the fact that I don't think he played 60% of snaps in almost any game last year in the regular season. He's done that multiple times now this year. They played him a little bit more on third down. Still going to see some Ty Johnson, but I think he's one of the 5 best running backs in the league. It's tough because you have the guys that made the Pro Bowl, so it's like that's 6. I think it's McCaffrey, Taylor, Gibbs, Bijan, James Cook. I'm missing one.
HN,
and then Saquon didn't make it. Like those are the undisputed best running backs in the league. So whatever order, I guess you can put those. But I think James Cook has earned the right to be a top 5 running back.
Chat is a little quiet this morning. If you would hit the like button, we would appreciate it. I understand. It's December 23rd. Like we got a lot of stuff going on. Christmas is right around the corner. Your team may have just been eliminated. Thank you for being here. If you are, if you have any questions about whether performances from this season were real, I've got a little spot marked out at the end of the show that we can try to answer those. So put those in the chat. Kenneth Gainwell, 6th in the NFL amongst running backs in receptions for the season with 62. Since week 9, he has 39 receptions, was his second only to Jahmyr Gibbs. He and Jaylen Warren, both awesome this week. Gainwell's been awesome for the last month. Is his role in the passing game and his value in fantasy football real? He is a free agent after this year.
I will say I think he has played really, really well for them. Like every time he gets the ball, he's made an impact, and more often than not, he's made a positive play. I think a lot of it is skewed because Aaron Rodgers has like a 17.7% check down rate, which you would expect for a 40+-year-old quarterback with a team that has one wide receiver that's really viable at all. And maybe if Metcalf suspended the rest of the season, Gainwell just averages like 8 catches a game.
Right.
So I think to that extent, it's like if he was in a different offense, obviously this would not be this level of production. But I have to give him his flowers because he's been their best running back all year. It's just a fact. So and it stinks because I was as high on anybody as on Caleb Johnson this offseason. I drafted him very high in a lot of my rookie drafts, and that sucks.
Yeah, no, that's somebody that we have nothing to say was it real because we almost didn't see him for the entire season. Let's get to probably the best surprise of the offseason or of the season, JSN, in a battle with Puka for wide receiver 1, and just right off the top, no, just like James Cook, no hesitation, it was real. He's going to be in the top 3 next year. Yes,
unless something happens where Sam Darnold's not under center. They started a little bit. I thought when they traded for Rashid Shaheed, we'd see more 11 personnel. This is a team that's going to run just a lot of one wide receiver sets, and that means JSN is literally competing with AJ Barner and tight ends and fullbacks for targets and running backs. Like it's not even a competition. Darnold, second straight year, he's been good to great, not just from a pure quarterback perspective, but for the receivers he's been around. I'm not salty at all about Justin Jefferson this year. I mean, JSN, it's a borderline elite prospect. We have to remember that too. And he was just in this weird situation. The meme is always there with what was it, Shane Waldron, when he was complaining, pretty much like laughing about the OC after his rookie season. Like, yeah, everything kind of went right for him. And still an immensely talented player, so it's good to see. This is 100% real.
Someone who has outscored JSN over the last month, the number 2 wide receiver in fantasy football, I believe, since Dan Campbell started calling plays, and he's even outscored him on Ross St. Brown. Jameson Williams. Is Jameson Williams with Dan Campbell calling plays real? Is this finally the breakout that we were all hoping for at the beginning of the year?
I think it is with a caveat because there's been no Sam Laporta, and the Brock Wrights of the world when he's been healthy. These guys are not commanding targets like Sam Laporta would. So there's that. But you mentioned it. This has been awesome for him with Dan Campbell calling plays. Weeks 1 through 9, Dan Campbell started calling plays week 10 against Washington, I believe. So weeks 1 through 9, Jameson Williams averaged 1.6 intermediate targets per game, which is 10 to 19 yards. That climbed to like 3.5 per game since Dan Campbell started calling plays. His air yards per target was at 14.5 without Campbell. It went down to 12, which is like still up there, but it's not solely reliant on vertical routes. And he has 8 total targets off screen passes this year. 5 of them have come since Dan Campbell started calling plays. He's still honestly one of the most dangerous wide receivers in the league off these play action crossing routes, he's still getting a lot of production there, which is great. It would be nice if the Lions could start running the ball effectively because then you could set up those play action targets. But this has been what we've wanted to see from Jameson Williams. First couple weeks of the season, it was terrifying. It was 24 fantasy points or 2 fantasy points. Now he might actually have a floor. We'll see what happens if Sam Laporta's healthy next season. But also we have to see, maybe Dan Campbell's not calling plays next season. But please, Detroit, look at this. Amon-Ra's awesome. He should get the most targets per game. But it doesn't have to be Amon-Ra gets 14 and J-Mo gets 4 and they're all 30 yards down the field. So I've been very pleased with what I've seen from Jameson Williams with Dan Campbell calling plays.
I think he's a top 20 dynasty wide receiver, still extremely young.
Yeah, and this was his first normal offseason. I always mention that too. Like he had the suspension, the injury, two years in a row. It's just been like his first normal offseason to be fully around the team and the offense and everything like that. And again, like you mentioned, you talk about that draft class. I mean, if he doesn't get that injury, like could have been the top receiver in that class. Like this is still an immense talent. So yeah, I just love seeing talented players put things together, and it makes fantasy better for sure.
Kyle Pitts has been so
Speaking
awesome.
of that, you're a segue machine, by the way.
So awesome with Kirk Cousins.
I love it.
And a lot of us thought, well, was it just because Drake London wasn't there? Drake London came back last week. Kyle Pitts scored 18 PPR fantasy points. Is it real? Are we finally getting the Kyle Pitts we drafted 5 years ago?
This is the most dangerous question. Because Pitts has been awesome.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of plays. Like I've been watching a lot of his receptions and targets over the past 4 or 5 weeks. A lot of it's like looking like, okay, he's that mismatch that we've been expecting at tight end, where if you put a defensive back on him, they're too small. Linebackers are far too slow. There have been a lot of plays where they're kind of like lining him up in the backfield or in motion, and he's getting like these pick plays where he's wide open, which is great. Like we want, especially without Drake London, you want him to be used like that. I think it's real, but it's also, again, kind of with a caveat, because where is this man playing next season?
Well, I think everyone in America probably hopes he's just going to go replace Travis Kelce.
That's literally the chalk, yeah. Which would be cool. By the way, Kyle Pitts, 31.1% third down target share, which is easily the highest among tight ends, I believe, and it's, I think, 9th in the NFL. Like he's been their guy, especially with Kirk Cousins. I've been impressed though. Like again, maybe a couple years too late, but I'm cautiously optimistic that this is real. But A, if he's back with Atlanta, who's the quarterback? B, if he's not with Atlanta, where is he playing? And if he's with Kansas City, who's the quarterback? Mahomes is going to try to play week 1, but we're kind of like almost, foreshadowing that's going to happen. But it does feel like it's a chalk. It's the popular answer.
It's going to be an exciting off season. One more, and just because it's the FFT Dynasty show and we have to talk about him every show, everybody knows what I think. You've dug into the numbers, probably charted some of his film. Is this Harold Fannin real?
I think he might be a top 5 tight end in the league by next year, like just based off pure talent. Like
he's such a. I think part of it is that people watch him run, and he's got, I guess it's the duck feet or whatever, bowed legs. He does not look like a great athlete. He didn't test like a great athlete. But good luck tackling this guy. And
I
honestly,
watched it firsthand. There was a play where they threw him a swing pass on like 3rd and long, and I believe it was either Jordan Poyer or Dorian Williams. Somebody came up and tried to stick him, and it did not work, and they got sent backwards.
Yeah, it's and like I don't know if you've noticed this or not, but when he ends up on a linebacker in like 5 to 10 yards off the line of scrimmage, they have no chance.
Yeah.
Like, he's just losing people with his routes.
And I love how they use him because I remember after week 1, I came on the podcast and we were talking about Harold Fannin, and I mentioned the insane versatility in his usage, and that's only continued. He's lining up in the backfield a ton. I think he's 6th among tight ends in routes out of the backfield in the slot. He's being used everywhere. Oh, by the way, legitimately might be the goal line back the rest of the season without Quinshon Judkins. Like, that's legitimately a possibility. Like, I bet you $1,000 that he gets a Wildcat touchdown before the end of the season.
Well, I mean, he had a rushing touchdown last week.
Right. And I bet you he gets a Wildcat one before the season.
He may get a Wildcat one as well. It's been a lot of fun. I think people have been fighting that battle all season. And we talked about this with Bill earlier in the year, and we were 100% right to say it. When you have a 3rd round rookie pick gain this much value, there's always the temptation to take the profit.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know how you're going to answer this question. I didn't put it in the rundown. You maybe haven't even thought about it. You get to April and somebody let's say, somebody has the 8th pick in the 2026 rookie class and they offer it to you for Harold Fannin.
It's funny you mentioned that too, because I'm in 2 dynasty leagues. My tight ends are absolutely terrible in both of them. So in that aspect, I would take Harold Fannin, I think.
Right. No, I
like,
think
obviously if you have, it depends, but like if you don't have a McBride, Bowers, why am I blanking on the 3rd tight end?
Well, it might be Harold Fannin.
That's probably why I was blanking on it.
I mean, like I said, the guys I put in the same tier with him are Warren, Loveland, Laporta, Pitts, and Kraft.
Yeah, and like he might lead the team in targets next year.
Yeah. I think a big key to Fannin's offseason, who's his quarterback going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And is Kevin Stefanski still there? Because Stefanski's offense,
yes, it's been
no matter who
friendly.
they say is calling plays or who the offensive coordinator is, Stefanski's offense for the last 5 years has been tight end heaven.
Mm-hmm. Also, David Njoku will not be back, I would imagine.
If he is, he's not going to matter.
I thought they should have traded him at the deadline, to be honest.
100%. He didn't want to go anywhere. It might have been one of those Alvin Kamara situations where I'm just not going to play for anybody else. But yeah, I don't think here David Njoku matters next year one way or another.
I'm assuming you're the same boat. If you had the 8th pick and somebody offers you Fannin, you're taking Fannin.
So as today, I would say yes.
Yeah, that can change obviously with
very early rookie research suggests the tier break in this draft is going to be around pick 6.
And I feel like it usually is, unless it's a crazy loaded class. It feels like last year, I think it was kind of the same way, like 6, 7. Oh, I did not want to say that.
You did it.
I did not want to do that.
Adam would be doing the hand motions right now. We will not do that. We will take our second break. When we come back, we've got some negative was it reels. I also have 2 of your questions from the chat highlighted. If you have one, now would be the time to get it in. We'll be right back.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
We are back. It can't be all positive on today's show. Baker Mayfield, you mentioned it in the second half, I guess it's hard to say he hasn't looked like Baker Mayfield because we've had 17 different versions of Baker Mayfield in his NFL career. Is this fall off real? Is he regressing back to the QB2 at best?
I love him, so I really want to say no. And I mentioned that Week 12 game against the Rams was the Sunday night game where he hurt his shoulder. Everybody watched it. Since then, his off-target rate is over 36%. Like, that's alarmingly high. It's ridiculously high. He probably, like a lot of quarterbacks, he probably would tell you, yeah, I'm not hurt. I'm fine. I'm just not playing well.
Right.
I think he's hurt. I don't think he's healthy. I don't think he's like, I think it might be like 85%. I think at some percentage of him is not healthy for sure. But their offense is also just not good right now. The funny thing is too, like he's and maybe it's just strictly a shoulder because he's actually running quite a bit the last couple weeks, which is kind of salvaged any sort of fantasy production because he's been under 200 yards in like 3 of the last 4, 3 of the last 5. I want to believe that it's just been like an up and down roller coaster season between injuries and, oh, Mike Evans is back. Oh, but then Chris Godwin's out. Oh, Chris Godwin's back, but Mike Evans is out. Egbuka looks like he's going to miss this week. Oh, wait, he's playing, but Chris Godwin's. It's just been insane. I'm giving him a slight benefit of the doubt because he was so good last year. He was an MVP candidate the first 5 or 6 weeks of this season, and he's been banged up. I just think a 36% off target rate is like, that's like just not even realistically high for.
Sounds like Carolina Baker.
Yeah, which now makes me think, oh, what if he's going back to Carolina Baker?
No,
it's tough. I just don't think he's healthy.
Yeah, I was probably a little too low on him for Dynasty coming into this year, and it's worked out okay. I think, like, if you think about those veteran quarterbacks that were all kind of in the same range in both redrafting and Dynasty rankings, I would much rather have Goff. I'd much rather have Dak. He's
Purdy.
certainly behind those guys, but much rather have Purdy and Love. Yep. He's still a QB2.
What about Bryce?
I think Bryce is going to be higher on the trade chart.
If you could have Bryce Young, if you could just tell Bryce Young, hey, Bryce, start the game. It's the game starting in the fourth quarter. He would be a top 10 quarterback in fantasy.
Bo Nix has been a little bit that way
at
times this year as well. Let's go to Baker Mayfield's teammate, Bucky Irving. Again, this is great tough. Last year. Awesome to start the year as a pass catcher and scoring touchdowns, but has been legitimately the worst rusher on Tampa Bay this year. Now, I think Rachaad White and Sean Tucker are both free agents. Bucky is the kind of guy with that day 3 draft capital where you worry that the team's just like, we don't have much invested in him. Let's see if we can improve the position. Mm-hmm. Is this fall off from Bucky real, or is he still a great running back? He just has to come back next year healthy.
If like when we saw him, because I watched that game against the Eagles where he like suffered the injury, but he finished the game. And I was like, okay, he'll probably be banged up a little bit after the adrenaline and stuff like that. If you told me he was going to miss as much time as he did, I would have been just like, absolutely not. So he missed so much time. That has to play a part in some capacity. And I wonder how much of it is, okay, he's just missed so much time. We don't want to overwork him because since returning in week 13, Bucky's the RB21 fantasy. He technically has 1 carry from inside the 5-yard line during that span, but it's not even charted because it was called back due to a penalty. Sean Tucker has 7 such carries.
He does not have one of those carries officially this season, not just since he came back.
There you go.
He has 0 carries inside the 5
So the one he had was, I believe, the first game he came back. He ran it in for a 1-yard touchdown, called back due to a penalty, didn't see one again. And that Thursday game against Tampa Bay 2 weeks ago, I was watching. I was like, okay, maybe it was just like a fluke thing because Bucky had been dominating that drive. Mm-hmm. And they throw the pass to McMillan down to the 1. They try the fade to Mike Evans, incomplete. And I'm like, okay, I'm facing Bucky in this league. I'm like, he's going to score. Sean Tucker's in. I was like, okay, maybe it's a one thing. No, this is legitimately Sean Tucker's role. I think they bring him back. I think they love Sean Tucker.
I think it's more likely White walks and Tucker's back. At least if White walks, because it's not just Sean Tucker.
Bucky Irving's only played 21% of third down since he's been back. And he has 8 total
White's
targets.
handling the passing downs. And
so he's like the worst type of fantasy running back because if he doesn't rip off a screen on an early down or a 40-yard explosive run on early downs, you're in trouble. Like there's like, oh, Bucky Irving had 16 carries for 71 yards. Cool, there's 7 points. Take it. Enjoy. It's tough.
Probably the biggest disappointment of the season, Justin Jefferson. I mean, there's been several disappointments, but just cannot get on the same page with JJ. McCarthy.
Do you know how thrilled I was at halftime when he had 5 for 50? I was like, this is amazing. Like I am on top of the world right now. And he had 85, and I was like, this is amazing. This is so good.
Is this lack of because I think JJ McCarthy is going to start week 1 next year. Is this lack of connection with JJ McCarthy real?
Yes. Do I think it'll be solved next year? Yes. He got asked about it, I think, after the game last week or before the game this week or whatever. And he said it's just something we have to work on in the offseason. So I fully expect him to be just every single weekend, almost every day. And it's been brutal because there's been so many plays when McCarthy was during that awful, awful stretch where Jefferson's still getting open at will. He's running these like 8 to 10 yard out routes, getting so much separation, and McCarthy just sails it over his head out of bounds. And that, to me, it's like, you can be a really, really bad quarterback. Most quarterbacks that actually play in the NFL can make that throw. So I wonder how much of it was just McCarthy, rookie, maybe he was just, I don't know. But like you have to be able to expect these guys to make those throws. And granted, the competition has been great, but McCarthy, I don't know, he wasn't amazing before leaving last week, but he settled in a little bit the last couple weeks. Jefferson also, strangely enough, like has had some couple uncharacteristic drops. I wonder if it was just he was shocked the ball was actually catchable. But I don't know where I'm going to draft him next year in redraft. I know it's a dynasty, but like dynasty, obviously you can't really do anything. You kind of have to hold him. I am very interested to see where he goes in redraft next year, assuming JJ is the quarterback, which that's fine. Please get Mac Jones. So I'll feel so good if Mac Jones is their backup next year. Obviously, their starter, I feel fine too.
He's not, for the first time in a long time, and it happened a couple weeks ago, but even looking at 2026, Justin Jefferson, not a top 5 dynasty wide receiver for me. Chase, JSN, Puka, Neighbors, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and CD Lamb, I have all those guys ahead of him. I'm really going to struggle with Jefferson, London, Nico.
It's funny you mentioned that. I traded during my rookie draft this summer. I traded London and picks for Justin Jefferson.
I'm sorry.
Which I'm still okay with, just because Jefferson's better. And I don't know what Drake London's quarterback situation suddenly looks like. But yeah, once the season started, I was like, this is not good.
Last one, Brian Thomas Jr. I'll just say, what was real? His rookie year or this year?
You got to say it's somewhere in between, right?
I hope.
The problem is, is it real that he's just better with Mac Jones? I don't know. It's just been a weird season for him because, what was it, the shoulder he had early in the season, and he was just, you could watch him just kind of not commit to going over the middle of the field and making these catches. He didn't want to get hit. He was dropping passes over the middle. I think the days of him, like, where was he in your rankings after his rookie season among dynasty receivers?
7?
Yeah, like, I think he's not a top 10 guy anymore pretty easily. No. But I still think he's immensely talented, and we talked about the offense. We feel really good about the offense. It's just week 1 of next season, all of a sudden you have Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas, a recently extended Jacoby Myers, and a team that still wants to run the football. So he might be like a 7 target per game guy.
I'm putting you in charge of the Bills right now. Would you trade your 2nd round pick in 2026 for Brian Thomas Jr.?
As the general manager of the Buffalo Bills?
Yes.
Yes, and I would have done any trade the Miami Dolphins wanted. Whatever pick you wanted for Waddle, we should have done. And now we're watching Brandon Cooks drop passes, and I just don't feel good. I'm watching Stephon Diggs have 150 yards in prime time and saying, yeah, I wish he was still on the team. But whatever. We got Keon Coleman that's not even playing. I'm screaming for Gabe Davis to be active next week. That's how bad it's gotten for the Bills. Like, I'm screaming for him to be active.
We had one, was it real, from the chat that I thought was a good one. The second half Saints. They've been world beaters.
I'll tell you what, Tyler Shuck is real.
Tyler Shuck and Olave as a mid wide receiver 1 were the 2 questions. Do you think Tyler Shuck is definitely their starting quarterback next year?
Yes.
And you think he's okay?
If this was like a more loaded quarterback class, you could maybe talk me into something else, but I've been thoroughly impressed with him. And then Olave, it's a combination of, even like Rattler was good enough when he was the quarterback for Olave to be a consistent PPR wide receiver 2. And then Shucks has kind of taken him to a different level. To be fair, it also has come since they traded Rashid Shaheed. They've released Brandon Cooks, and then Devon Vele got hurt. So there's really nobody to compete for targets. Right, and no pass-catching running back to speak of. But and I took the L. I did not like Chris Olave coming in the season. I thought the offense was going to be terrible. You obviously had to worry about concussion history. But when he's on the field, he's awesome, and he's fit perfectly with Kellen Moore's offense because he's getting all of the pre-snap motion targets that Rashid Shaheed was getting the year prior. That's all gone to him this year, and he's also, we forget because it's just a loaded college of receivers, but he's kind of like the forgotten man, but he's also really good too. So I do believe Olave we know is good, but I believe in the Saints. They've been a fun team, man. Like, they're a bad team, but they're a fun bad team. At least there's other teams that are like mediocre or bad, which is like they're not even trying or they're bad. The Saints are the most fun bad team this year by far.
I mean, I think Harold Fannin obviously makes the Browns the most fun bad team, but
That's fair.
But yes, they have been. One more question from the chat. Connor, want to thank you guys in my third final in a dynasty league, year
Nice.
12. But he's 0-2 in his first 2 appearances in the finals. So this is really important. We don't normally do start sit, but we'll do start sit for a dynasty championship. He's deciding between Drake May or Trevor Lawrence this week.
Wow. That is tough.
No, I don't even think he probably, like, I know he knows it's tough. I always tell people, don't put too much stock in the Tuesday projections and rankings, because I'm going to be massaging that throughout the week. And my very first run of the projections, I have Drake May at QB6 at 23.2 points. I have Trevor Lawrence at QB7 at 22.9 points. So
I've barely looked at the matchup so far. Drake May has the Jets or the Dolphins this week? Which one?
He has the Jets.
Yeah, he's Dolphins next week. And then Lawrence has
the Colts.
Man, their secondary
you're not scared of either one of them.
Awful. What if it's this close between, especially in if you're setting a lineup and you have them close before even asking us, I wonder, would the absences of Kyle Williams or Kayshon Boutte and Travion Henderson impact at all? Because they should be able to do whatever they want against the Jets regardless. But
I think Demario Douglas might be out too.
Right. Oh my God, Stephon Diggs actually gets to run routes.
Stephon Diggs might play 60% of the snaps. And yeah, so I think that's a good first thing
really
that might
close,
tilt it.
man.
The second thing is Trevor Lawrence is playing in a dome in Indianapolis. Drake May is playing outdoors in New Jersey. It's possible the weather makes the difference, but please, like, if you're on Twitter, send me a tweet. Send Adam a tweet.
Yeah.
And we get a little closer to Sunday, but right now it's a coin flip. Complete and total coin flip. And then Parker
if Purdy doesn't throw
Washington,
5 touchdowns on yesterday, and he throws like 3 with 270.
Yeah,
I think maybe makes it easier. I don't know. Like, their secondary has no chance right now without Ward and Sauce. Like, no.
He
chance.
also has Michael Pittman and Parker Washington. So directly tied to that question with Trevor Lawrence. And
I mean, that Parker Washington game had to have been Brian Thomas, Pat Surtain related, right? Like, Washington's been fine this year, but like, I feel like that was a huge proponent of that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't really like Michael Pittman.
Yeah.
For obvious reasons. I currently have, are you kidding me? In my early projections, wide receiver 37, Parker Washington, 9.9 points. Wide receiver 38, Michael Pittman, 9.8 points. Like, you just went through my early projections over on Sportsline and picked out the 2 most difficult questions to make me look dumb on my podcast.
Good news is it's only Tuesday.
I think there's a really good chance, especially if I thought I was like needing a big day, that I'd just pair Lawrence and Washington up and shoot for the moon there. Because I think it's really unlikely that Pittman has the kind of game.
We also don't know for sure who's starting at quarterback for the Colts. Like, they could go to like Riley Leonard with their season pretty much done. Like, wouldn't shock me.
Yeah, I would say that's probably, at this point, you probably let Phillip Rivers make that decision.
Yeah, if I'm the Colts, I'm letting Phillip finish it. Why not?
Right. So I check back with us later in the week, but Lawrence and Washington is kind of where I'm leaning, talking about it right now.
I mean, how many passes do you think Drake May is going to throw? 24?
26.
Yeah.
But it's the Jets.
And his deep passing, he had a couple with Kyle Williams on Sunday night, but his deep passing since the beginning of the season has fallen off. So
wasn't that always going to happen? Like, if you have a guy that every time we show a deep passing chart, he's breaking the chart because he's so much better than everyone else, shouldn't we just expect he's got some deep incompletions coming?
For sure.
That's going to do it for FFT Dynasty. Thank you, as always, Adam. Remind everybody where they can find your work.
Yeah, appreciate you always having me on. FTNFantasy.com. A lot of awesome stuff there. Also, if you enjoyed the first minute and a half of this podcast where we talked about basketball, I'm doing some NBA stuff as well, like I mentioned. So a lot of great stuff. And it's been a weird week because I'm leaving Friday to go to Buffalo for the Bills-Eagles game. And I've been so excited about that because it's my last game at that stadium. I legit like have forgotten that it's Christmas on Thursday like 7 times over the past week. It's been a wild week.
Are they building a dome?
No, and I'm disappointed in the Chiefs for building a dome. I really am.
I'm a guy who hasn't been to Arrowhead in over a decade. Probably won't go back to Arrowhead. And I've been so sad the last 24 hours thinking about them getting rid of Arrowhead and replacing it with basically, listen, I've only been to a few games indoors. I feel like I'm watching football.
I don't think I ever have. It's probably really fun.
No, I feel like I'm watching football in a hospital. It's just a completely sterile environment.
Yeah.
Like, give me the sticky concrete floors and the wind and the rain.
The Bills Stadium is like very, very old fashioned. It's small, and I love everything about it. It's a perfect epitome of the Buffalo Bills fan base. Like, it's not flashy. It's just, I love it, and I actually don't want them to get a new stadium. And obviously, the new one is going to be way more, advanced and stuff like that. And I'm actually not excited about it. So like, there might be some weather, as you'd expect, in late December for this Bills game on Sunday. I hope it snows. It'd be fitting for my last game there to be in the snow. But I was very disappointed to see the Chiefs are building a dome. I was shocked and disappointed, to be honest.
I think it's exactly the way we should all feel. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Debo, for making everything work. Thank you to everybody who was active on a chat. We will talk to you next Tuesday.